Welcome into the A-List podcast. I'm Kwani Lunis, joined by Gary Washburn. Gary, how you doing?
Really good. Just trying to enjoy what's the beginning of the off season. It's not a long off season. It's not really an off season, but trying to enjoy a little bit of downtime after free agency is kind of cooled off. But everything is good.
Yeah, I mean, with the NBA being on that beat, I can't imagine you actually get an off season, to be honest.
Not anymore. You know, let's face it. The Celtics still have some moves to make. Mm-hmm. Then there's the schedule release, and maybe in late August we talk about a little bit of time off, or just the NBA takes a break.
That makes sense. But you're trying to enjoy the offseason. I am as well. But we actually got a chance to catch up with a new Celtics player who's also enjoying his offseason. Sherrod's going to join us for that conversation. Let's listen to it.
Welcoming in to the A-List podcast, we've got the newest member of the Boston Celtics, Danilo Gallinari. How you doing, my friend?
Everything good, you?
Good. Apologies for not having him live and direct in front of you, but he is doing what we all should be doing this time of year, enjoying the off season. I know he's on the road, now you're in Italy right now, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And I understand that you've got some pretty big life-changing events coming up very soon. I hear you're getting married. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. In a couple of days.
Wow.
Yes, congrats.
Wow. We are, I'm glad you took time out to talk to us. Although I must admit, Danilo, I thought we would be having this conversation sooner because the Celtics, and you're probably aware of this, they've had interest in you for quite a while. And I'm just curious, how close have you come in the past to becoming a Celtic? I mean, was it ever something that you thought was about to happen that maybe just fell apart at the last minute?
No, we were close a couple of times since Brad took over as a head coach years ago. We've always been in touch, and so we were close a couple of times, but finally we were able to make it happen.
Danilo, in your introductory press conference, you actually talked about how your father had this admiration for Larry Bird. How much of your game is modeled up after him, including the trash talking?
I think he was a better trash talker than me, but I watched a lot of videos of him since I was a little kid, and so I always tried to do the things that he was doing on the court, and so he's always been an idol for my dad and also for me.
Danilo, what's been the key? I mean, it seems like such a long time ago that you started with the New York Knicks, and you were kind of the darling of New York during your first few years. What's been the key to your staying power in the NBA to play until your age 33? Because that's not easy.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. But is take care of your body first. Your body is what you use to do your job every day. And so you need to take care of that. And then, of course, when, you're not young for forever. And so you need to evolve your game and study your game and understand where you can be effective, even if you cannot jump and run like you used to.
And for you, Danilo, and I don't think most people realize this, you've been in the league for more than a decade. And correct me if I'm wrong in this, but this was the first time you actually had to pick the team that you would play for, because you've been involved in trades up to this point when you've switched teams, correct?
I had the chance to pick the team another time when I went to LA. So this is the second time.
What was it about Boston that made this the place that you felt you could continue your career at this point?
I think they have a young group, a talented young group, but with a lot of experience already. They've been to the playoff almost every year for the past few years, and especially what they did last year. And so I think that is a group that can do some damage in the future. And so that was the main goal for me. And so I think that being part of this, and especially the city, the franchise, the history, a lot of reasons.
From what you've seen, especially from their last playoff run, how do you see yourself fitting into the Celtics squad?
I think I can help a lot just by doing what I've been doing for all these years. They did a great job last year. but I think that I can help, and I'm a versatile player, so I can play in any kind of defense, offense, any kind of system. And so coming from the bench, I think that I can help them a lot.
Like you were on that team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals a couple years ago in Atlanta. Last year was supposed to be kind of, you're going to build on that and come back and maybe make a finals run. It didn't quite work out. Can you, like, it seems like you can pass along to your new teammates, like, hey, just because you guys made it far doesn't mean you're going to do it the next year. You got to work even harder. What did you take away from last year in comparison to the year before when you guys had that magical season?
I think that, you know, it's like you said, it's never easy to do the same thing that you did the year before. And once you're there, you need to, you know, use the chance that you got to once you're there and win it and win that game and win that series. And so you cannot think that, okay, we didn't do it this year, we're going to do it next year for sure. It doesn't work like that in the NBA. And so you need to, you know, utilize every chance that you got.
When you were watching the Boston Celtics, like all of us were just kind of watching their journey last year and getting all the way to the NBA Finals, how much did that journey influence your decision to sign with Boston? Because you had a number of options in addition to the Boston Celtics to choose from.
Yeah. I mean, that helped for sure in the choice. But again, when you think about the Celtics, and you think about the history of the franchise and what they're all about, when you have the chance to be picked by a franchise that is all about, you know, winning and do the things the right way and play the right way, that's already a lot.
You mentioned that you are in your home country of Italy, which is known for its amazing food. I don't know if you've heard about the Boston's North End. I don't know if it compares, but what would you say is your favorite Italian dish?
No, it's pretty good. The North End is pretty good. That's where I go to dinner every time I go to Boston, so I know the area very well.
Okay, Danilo approved.
but yeah, I approve. But I don't have a favorite spot now because I change the restaurant every time. I try to, you know, to find new spots. But in general, the North End is pretty good.
We got to get a segment, Dinner with Danilo. We got to make that happen when you get here.
I like that. Dinner with
Danilo. We got to get involved with that for sure.
Yeah, that would be easy to do.
Danilo, what was the I want to ask you two things. What was the team the Olympic experience like last year? Did you get to know any of the guys playing for Team Italy? You were kind of like you came off the bench. You were kind of like the gunner for Team Italy. And I got a good chance to watch Simone, who obviously just signed with the Utah Jazz, one of your teammates who had been kind of a guy, I thought he was one of the best players in Tokyo. So what was your experience like for Team Italy? Did you get to know any of the players on Team USA or any of your new teammates during that experience? And can you tell us more about Simone and what kind of player he is? Because I said, very impressed with him last year in Tokyo.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great experience for us. The Olympics is something that you dream of when you are a little kid. And so it was a dream come true for me. It was my first one. I knew even if it was a young group of guys, I knew the guys already. And Simone is a great guy and he's a very good player. He's been playing great basketball for the past few seasons in the EuroLeague. And I'm sure that he's gonna be able to be himself and to do what he does even in the NBA. I'm very excited for him. Of course, he's a dream come true for him too. And I'm looking forward to play with him again this summer for the European Championship and see what we can do.
Do you think your success kind of led to teams being interested in him? He's kind of maybe a younger version of that you were, because he's 26.
Yeah, he plays the three, and he's the same position that I played for most of my years in my pro career. So he's I think he's ready for the NBA. He has an NBA body. I think he can play on the offensive end and defensive end, or also on smaller guys. And like I said, I'm excited for him. It's not going to be an easy process, but I think he has the experience in basketball to be able to do it and establish himself.
You had just touched on it a second ago about just kind of the position that you played for the bulk of your career in the NBA. And you know this, with the way the NBA has changed, going with more smaller lineups, a lot of folks who maybe played the 3 are now playing the 4 and the 5. Have the Celtics given you an indication of whether you'll be playing maybe a position up, like maybe playing some center possibly, which I know is something that you really haven't done much of, if at all, in your career up to this point?
Yeah, I mean, my position is going to be the 4, backup 4, but, whenever needs to be done, I'll do it. Like I said, you guys know I can play different positions. Of course, I never played the 5, but if it's something that it needs to be played, I'll play, no problem. Whatever needs to be done, I'll be there to do it.
That being said, when you signed with Boston, did you know any of the players that are currently on the roster? Did you overlap with Al?
I knew Al before. We spent a couple of summers together traveling with the NBA, so I knew him. But not the other player, just by playing against them.
Have you guys talked to any of them yet?
Yeah, I talked to some of them already.
Nice.
What's the key to maintaining the ability to score in this league? You can shoot above smaller defenders. You don't have the athleticism. You don't have the great athleticism, but it seems like you're easily able to get your shot off. How have you used your body and it seems like your skill set and your experience to be able to still score at a high level?
I think that's when you evolve your game, and you, of course, cannot do that much with your athleticism, but you can use your length and your skills. That's what I've been doing all my career. Now I just, got to do it a little more.
What's for you, Danilo? Because there was a period in your career where you just had a rash of bad luck with injuries, but you've been able to get past that and it not become an issue for you going forward. What are some of the things you've done to just maintain your body and stay in good health that have allowed you to stay on the floor and be impactful?
I think that especially the summer work and the work that you put in the summer to prepare yourself for the season, I think that's key. And that's something that I'll be really doing and focusing on is that because then during the season you have to maintain, you don't have the chance to work that much on the stuff that you do on your body, but in the summer is key. And so, with the program you do with your team, your PTs and strength coach, that's what I've been doing a lot.
Gary kind of touched on this a little bit, but what do you think you bring from a veteran leadership standpoint to this team that is still very young?
I think just, mental toughness and experience.
Well, what kind of things are you working on this summer? I mean, I know obviously you're always evolving your game, always working on things. What is a summer like this like when you get to a new team? Obviously you're getting married too, so you got to take a honeymoon and take some time off. But what is it like that you feel like, okay, this is what I want to work on this summer?
Just the same things that I'll be working on every summer, especially making sure that my body is going to be ready for the next season.
And Gary had just touched on it about getting married. And before we let you out of here, Danilo, I want to play just a quick, I got one question about the wedding, and it's kind of a game-ish question because we like to play games on here.
We do.
All right. Are you ready? I got a question for you. You ready?
Put him on the hot seat.
It has to be. If you really care about Danilo Gallinari and his new bride, the one wedding gift you should not give us is blank. What would that be?
Oh, that's a great question. I have no idea. I think I need my wife's opinion on that one. I don't know.
That is the correct answer. That is the correct. See,
you passed.
Gary, he has already figured out the cheat code.
He's ready.
Defer to the missus. Yeah, well done, Danilo Gallinari. Wow. Well done. Well done. Danilo Gallinari, thank you so much for your time being on the A-List podcast with the newest member of the Boston Celtics. We are looking so forward to seeing more of you as we get into the season. And maybe we'll have a dinner with Danilo, rubbing with Gallinari. We'll see if we can make that happen.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Well, I love that he's excited to join the Celtics, and we're excited about one of our newer partners, Indeed.com. As you've heard on this podcast multiple times, they're the perfect place if you're looking to hire someone that can adapt to your business's needs. And Indeed is actually the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. You can find great talent faster through their time-saving tools like Indeed Match, Instant Match, assessment, and virtual interviews. One of the things that we love about Indeed is that it makes hiring the perfect place. It's a one-stop shop for everything that you're going to need for your small business. So if you haven't gotten a chance to use the code and you're looking to hire, make sure that you head to Indeed.com/A-list. And that's where you'll be able to start hiring right now today with their $75 sponsored job credit. You can upgrade your job post simply by using our code at Indeed.com/A-list. Need to hire, you need Indeed. Gary, you were at Summer League. We were all at Summer League, and there are a lot of takeaways. There are really a lot of storylines when you look at the Celtics roster, but one of the bigger ones was Kabengele. He got signed to a two-way contract after the Summer League festivities had ended. What were some of your takeaways from seeing him play during that time in Vegas?
I think he did very well. He was able to hit the boards. He was able to score in the paint, play a little defense, hit an occasional three. I mean, he's a former first-round pick, right? I think he came out of school after his sophomore year, maybe prematurely, wasn't quite ready for the league. He bounced from the Clippers and kind of being in the G League there. Then he went to Cleveland, and obviously Cleveland has like 7 big men, so it didn't work out for him in Cleveland. And now he gets a chance in Boston to learn from Al Horford, learn from, Robert Williams, to, try to fulfill his potential. And I think he has a lot of talent. I mean, he can, you need somebody who's a hard worker. You need somebody who's going to get in the paint and bang around, get some rebounds, make it tough on the opponents. And I think Kabengele is one of those guys that can do that. Now, is he going to be a reliable third center? Is he going to, we'll see. Is he ready for the NBA at this point at age 25? Maybe he spends most of the year in Maine. Maybe they fill the roster spot with another big, a veteran big, and we can talk about some names: DeMarcus Cousins, Dwight Howard, Montrezl Harrell, Willie Cauley-Stein. I mean, there's a variety of bigs out there who will take the Celtics, minimum salary and come in. But for me, I thought he did very well. He represented himself well. And that's what you signed for Summer League for, to get a roster spot. He came, he saw, he conquered. Okay. He was the best player on the team, or maybe comparably, JD Davison we can talk about. But I thought Kabengele was a solid player, a good pick. When I saw his name, I was like, you know what? He's someone to watch, former first-round pick, so he's got talent. But as in his Summer League shows, some of these guys just take longer to develop, and he might be one of those guys.
And we do, like we've talked about, we take Summer League with a grain of salt. The Celtics ended up with a 3-2 record during their play, and they obviously didn't get to go far because they lost that first game. But Kabengele, he had a pretty good playoff run, Summer League run, as you mentioned, almost averaging a double-double with 14 points and 9.3 rebounds a game. So to your point, there is definitely a lot that he could add to this roster. What do you think, how long do you think it'll take for him to adapt to the NBA style of play, though? Because obviously, again, Summer League is pretty different than
he's going to need a training camp, maybe some playing time. We'll see what happens in training camp when he gets his reps in training camp. Will they send him immediately to Maine once the Maine season starts? Right. How will they treat him in his two-way contract? Will he win a spot in camp as that third big? That could be it, and they could, transfer first contract to a standard NBA deal. So there's a lot of possibilities here, but I just think it was good for them to bring the kid into camp. Okay, let's not let this kid walk away and get signed by some other team. Let's bring him to camp. Let's see what he can do against NBA level competition. Let's see if he can earn that third big. And I'm sure that's what his agent was talking to the Celtics about. Hey, my guy wants to get those minutes. And I'm sure the Celtics are telling him, and he's telling himself, and his agent's telling him, hey, your opportunity is now to earn some real NBA minutes. This is what you've wanted since you entered the league. You've kind of been a guy who's been on the shelf or been in the D League. Well, let's see what you do with your first real opportunity.
For the Celtics overall, like moving aside from Summer League, what are some moves that you think Brad Stevens might still be working on at this point? If any,
I mean, he's got to sign a third big. There's 3 roster spots left. Okay, they're two-way guys. We'll see. Is Davidson and Kabengele. So what do they do with Matt Ryan? They've signed Sam Howell to an NBA deal. What do they think of Broderick Thomas? Do they sign him to a standard NBA deal, or do they let him walk somewhere? There's things to do. And let's face, okay, free agency is not over. It's just over for most of the great players and the good players. But there's a market out there of players who are looking to sign, who are going to have to take the league minimum. And why not for the Celtics? A chance to win a championship. We can talk about those. DeMarcus Cousins, Dwight Howard, Montrezl Harrell, although he has some off-court issues. Yeah. And a guy that I like, if he's healthy, they can give some toughness. Markieff Morris is a guy that I like. I know last year he's had some neck issues. He had some neck issues in Washington, and then he had some last year when he got into it with Nikola Jokic. But if he's healthy, he can bring some toughness off the bench. His brother played here and liked Boston. He's a guy that I would look at. Some people are kind of pushing the Dwight campaign and pushing Dwight to be signed. Don't think so. I think Dwight, at this point in his career, is a team guy. He wants to still play. He's lost his skills. He's headed for the Hall of Fame, like it or not, people. He is going to the Hall of Fame. So he's just trying to win, right? And he doesn't really need the money. He's made a lot of money in his career, so he still wants to play. He can still be physical, give you rebounds, a few points in the paint. DeMarcus Cousins, that's a guy you have to worry about with a young team. Will he be that team guy? I think he was in Denver in some of his last stops. So there's everybody you sign now is going to have some question marks, going to have some I don't know. So I think you have to, injury history of being tough, a tough teammate, injury of having, issues with management. Like you're not going to sign the perfect third big now. And I don't know what they do with Luke Cornett. I don't know why they brought him back, to be honest with you. I don't know what purpose he really serves. If they didn't trust him in the playoff. I don't know why, but that's interesting. But you got 3 spots left. You might as well fill them.
Gary, before we close out, we like to talk about, what's going on around the league. And right now, we're not sure exactly where KD's going. That's still up in the air. But James Harden, I'm not sure if you saw the report. Reportedly, he reached an agreement with the Sixers for a 2-year, $68 million deal. What do you think is coming out of James Harden this coming season? Because I know there are still a lot of skeptics as to whether or not he's really going to be able to contribute to this roster. And I know he did also say he wants to save them some money in a way so they can build around him, whatever the case may be. But I'm curious about your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one to think that Harden's completely washed up, okay? I think that physically he hasn't been himself. He hasn't been in great shape. I think he was very tentative last year with Philadelphia 76ers. So this is the year. This is the year for a lot of guys. I mean, this is the year for Russell Westbrook. I mean, this is the year for James Harden. This is the year for some of these guys to prove that they can still remain relevant in the NBA. This is the year for John Wall. All these guys who are now 10 plus years in have had some slippage, had some tough times. This is their quote unquote comeback year, right? So I think James has got to prove that he's still got semblances of Houston James Harden. I don't know if that guy is still around. Remember, James Harden is 33, and 33 for a basketball player, yeah, LeBron's 37, still playing at an extremely high level. Kobe played till he was 38. Karl Malone played till he was 30. Like, there's plenty of guys play deep into their 30s, but sometimes when you hit 30, your clock starts ticking. Look at guys like Allen Iverson. Look at guys, Tracy McGrady. At 30, sometimes you start declining. Not everybody's Steph Curry. So let's see if Harden was truly, as he said, he wasn't completely healthy, his body wasn't right, or is it he in decline? I think that's, I'm not going to call James Harden courageous or, sacrificing when he turned down a $47 million option, but signed for 68 over 2. Like, he gave up $13 million, but added a player option for a second year. So that's not exactly super sacrifice. He didn't take a 50% pay cut, okay, to come back to do it. He took $13 million off this year, but next year, when perhaps if he has a bad year, his market value would be little, he's going to pick up another quick $34 million, even if he has a bad year this year. So very smart move by James Harden. Let's kill this narrative that he really sacrificed a whole bunch
if
of
I
money
could sacrifice and get $68 million for 2 years, I'd sacrifice.
Oh, that's just, James, let's give you the Congressional Medal of Honor for this. Like, let's stop.
Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, let's give him the Nobel Peace Prize. And he's so, he's Mother Teresa, he's Gandhi. Like, no, the fact is that he negotiated less money, but for a longer term and a player option so basically another guaranteed year. Players do that all the time. They take less money for the security. And that's smart of James Harden. He'll be 35 at the end of that deal. Who knows how he'll be at 35? So I want to see what James Harden has to offer. I'm not one to be like, oh, he's washed. He's terrible now. He ain't the Houston James Harden. No, he might not be 26-year-old, 28-year-old James Harden that was, serving fools, going to the free throw line, scoring 35 points a game. He might just be 26 point a game, James Harden, as a compliment to Joel Embiid. That's how I look at it, but I'm going to give him a chance.
As long as he shows up when the Sixers need him, I think they'll be completely satisfied. I want to ask you a question about JD, jumping back to Summer League really quickly, because our producer Ahmed gave me this really fun fact. I love fun facts. So JD Davis, it's not really a fun fact because people probably know this already, but JD Davison, he set that Celtics Summer League record for 41 assists, and his 8.2 assists per game actually ranked third of all time league-wide behind Lonzo Ball, which he had 9.3, and Peyton Pritchard, another Celtic, who had 8.5. So do you think JD is going to turn out to be the steal of the NBA draft? Let's overreact.
It's a possibility. I've seen lots of guys over the years, and JD was a 53rd pick. Some of those guys from 53rd aren't going to make a roster, or they're going to be living in the D League. They'll play less than 20 NBA games, or they'll go overseas. JD Davison is not one of those guys. He is going to play in the NBA for a long time. I like the way his tempo, his pace. He wasn't playing with his hair on fire. He wasn't doing too much. He wasn't trying to show everybody how good he was. He was playing within the system of the game. Now, there were some turnovers here, but, I saw firsthand the 28-point effort he had against Memphis. Like, he can score, and he had 4 threes in that game. So his shot isn't broken. He shot 30% at Alabama from the three-point line. So not good, but it's a fixable shot. Remember, Jalen shot 30% during his freshman year, his own lone year at Cal. So obviously the Celtics saw and said, you know what? His shot isn't broken. He's not Ben Simmons here. He can shoot the ball. We just got to give him reps, give him an opportunity to hit that three. Then he plays with a good, steady pace. He doesn't go too fast. He doesn't go too slow. So I was thoroughly impressed with JD Davison. I think he was a steal, especially at 53, where everybody thought the Celtics should trade up, maybe trade to the 30s and get some guy. But I thought they got one of the better guys in Summer League at the 53rd pick. And that's how you have to draft. Sometimes you got to take a chance. He's a one and done. You know, he didn't have a great year at Alabama, but he had a solid year. So I think they looked at him and they saw that potential and they jumped on it. And I think so far, he shows the ability to fulfill that potential.
Well, we played a game with Gallo earlier. So now I'm going to put you on the spot with a quick round, well, a few rounds of fact or fiction, and then we'll close out. So, fact or fiction, the Phoenix Suns matching the 4-year, $133 million offer sheet for DeAndre Ayton received from the Pacers was a good move. Fact or fiction?
I would say fact, and I'm not strong in that, but I just think you don't let big men like that walk away for nothing. They weren't going to get anything for him. Right. Now, how will it work in the future? How's the relationship with Monty Williams? What happened in the playoffs last year? Well, he's a good, strong, big man with a lot of potential, and it's $30 million. And let's be honest, guys, we have seen some extensions recently where guys are making 50+ million. Steph's going to make 50 million this year. Dame Lillard's making 60 million the first year of his extension. So we've seen the first $60 million player. So DeAndre's 34 million is not going to be that much in the coming years. Just like, remember, folks, Jason Tatum makes 37 million in the final year of his contract. He is about to opt out. When James Harden is making 34 and Jason's making 37 in 4 years, Jason's going to opt out and be like, where my 50 million, the man? Exactly. Where my 50? So salaries are escalating. We'll see what happens in the new collective bargaining agreement, but you can't let a guy like that, the number 1 overall pick, walk away. You can't. So I know Phoenix should have handled their business earlier. Maybe signed him to a deal of $100 million over 4 years. They probably could have saved some money, but they took their chances. They lost, but now they got the reliable big man back. So true, false. I think it was a good signing. I think it was a good decision.
Yeah, I got you. I get what you mean. All right, fact or fiction? Russell Westbrook will be a LA Laker when training camp starts. This one's fun.
I'd say true because nobody gonna take Russ at this point. 47 million, and he parted ways with his agent, who said basically on the record told the media his only option is to get traded and likely bought out and then signed by a contending team. Now, if you're a contending team, who's going to want to sign Russell Westbrook for a year as a kind of a renter player? Who's going to want that, kind of energy in their locker room? A guy who feels like he still has it, a guy's going to want to start. The only teams I know are bad teams, or teams that are trying to get to another level, like trying to make the playoffs. Like no contender, Memphis, Phoenix, LA Clippers, Miami, the Celtics, Milwaukee is going to sign Russell Westbrook. So his path is to get out of LA is getting traded, bought out, and signing with, the Pistons or Charlotte or something. Like, if you want to do that, Russ, but I think the chances are he is a Laker because the Lakers don't have a deal on the table unless he gets traded for Kyrie, which I doubt at this point. So I think Russ is going to be staying home close to his, Lawndale, California roots. That's where he's from. He's from near where I'm from. The next city over, Russ is going to be there for this year.
Dang, that means he's probably not going to get a ring. Fact or fiction? Kevin Durant will be reunited with the Golden State Warriors next season.
Boy, I'd say fiction because here's the thing, Kwani. They can't include Andrew Wiggins in the deal because he signed that rookie extension and teams can't acquire 2 players like the Nets. Remember, the Nets acquired Ben Simmons, who signed a rookie extension. You can homegrown 2 players, or you could have, let's say the Celtics could get Andrew Wiggins, for example, not that they're going to do it, because you have Tatum, but you also have, but they cultivated Tatum, right? Tatum's their homegrown guy. They didn't acquire Tatum. Wiggins would be acquired. You can't have 2 trade acquisitions on rookie max extensions like Wiggins and like Ben Simmons. So if you're able to include Wiggins in the deal, I would say maybe you're gonna have to trade Draymond, Clay.
Yeah.
Are the Warriors willing to gut like their core, right?
Yeah.
Like, because if I'm Brooklyn, I'm asking for Jordan Poole, James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, all them young dudes, but they don't make nothing.
Give me the coach too.
Yeah, and the coach. I'd ask for those 4 young guys, so you need to pass some salary, so it's going to be Clay or Draymond. Mm-hmm. So are you willing to give up a core, one of your big kind of Mount Rushmore players, Clay or Draymond, in that deal? That's a tough one for the Warriors to just say, okay, we're going to get Durant back, but it's going to take someone who is going to have his jersey retired in Golden State when his career's over.
Yeah. That got me actually thinking we should do coach swaps throughout the season as well. Steve Kerr in Brooklyn, could he make it work? Could he fix Kyrie and Katie?
I don't think anybody can fix Kyrie.
Fact or fiction? All right, our final actual fact or fiction, though. Should the Portland Trailblazers hang up their Summer League banner, their championship banner? I mean, they got a ring, so
Yeah, fiction. It's nice, though. It's nice but there wasn't even no tournament. This Summer League champion, like the one Sacramento one last year when you actually won some playoff games, you won a quarterfinal, you won 3 or 4 games, you just finished, they finished 3-1, but they were the best 3-1 team.
I didn't understand.
This format was kind of confusing. Is it margin of victory? Because the Celtics were 3-1. The Celtics apparently had no chance, even though they basically had blown out Golden State and Memphis, and in addition to win the buzzer beater against Milwaukee. So I didn't know how that went, but no, I'm not feeling the Summer League ring thing. I'm not feeling it's great accomplishment for guys to come together, but it's a 5-game schedule. You're not playing in some tournament. If they had played in the previous Summer Leagues, they played 3 games, then they got into a tournament. So I think the winning team and the 2 finalists played 8 games. To me, that would be more of a championship when you go through a tournament style as opposed to just okay, you 2 play for the finals. And then the winner gets a ring and the loser gets nothing.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
It's giving
got nothing.
Yeah, nah.
A nice participation trophy.
Exactly. You get a trophy. Everyone gets a trophy. If they hang that banner, it's like the 2014 AFC finalists when switching sports, the Colts, when they decided to hang that banner up, but not acceptable. We don't do participation. Also, it's just Summer League.
It's Summer League.
Right. Well, that's a wrap on this week's podcast. For Gary Washburn and Sherrod and Gallo, I'm Kwani Lunis. This is the A-List Podcast. We'll be back next week.